Housekeepers of Reddit, what is the craziest or most NSFW thing you've walked in on in a hotel or at a client's house? Not my story. But my girlfriend works in hospitality at a hotel and she has seen some crazy stuff. The weirdest funniest was probably when the housekeeper found bedsheets, blankets, and the mattress covered in tea with a note explaining sorry for the mess. My slave had an unfortunate accident. I delivered a pizza to a hotel room and obese women covered in semen answered the door naked. In the background 4 dudes stood naked pretending like this was totally normal. I figured shocking me and demeaning her further got them off. It was a credit card order and a little jizz got on it. I left the recept and reprinted it. Good tippers. Was a manager in a 3-star hotel. We'd found some guests that had overstayed checkout by about 3 hours. Asked them to leave and had come back again to tell them they had to get out. The final time I came to check on them I just walked in because I was sick of it. She was on her knees sucking him off and just looked round at me. I held the door wide open. Told them to get out and that I'd call the police if they didn't. Neither seemed bothered. Just a bit disappointed that I'd interrupted them. I was the manager of a you.I extended stay hotel years ago. The housekeepers like to call me in to witness unusual findings. One guest had left a couple of potatoes with condoms on them under the bed. I guess it was overall harmless. But not sure how potatoes were the winner of phallic vegetable shopping options. Does third shift room service at a casino hotel count? People walking the hallways bare naked at 4 AM, lots of topless cougars wanting to impress. The worst is the post-sex smell that some couples have. I'm not going into details on that one. A blood-soaked bed in one of the suites. Like, more than we could reasonably pass off as menstrual blood. The boss made one of the ladies clean it up while the rest of us started the rooms on the 2nd floor. At one point I looked out one of the windows to the parking lot below. There was a large, dark red puddle just behind someone's parked Camry. I brought the boss in to look at it. And she decided to step out to investigate but told me to get back to work. She refused to talk about it for the rest of the day. Not sure what came of the situation since I quit shortly after. Did anyone call the cops? Sounds like someone stubbed their toe really fking bad. They probably died. Used to work front desk at a hotel. But did help housekeeping with minor things on nights where we were busy. One night this couple checked in. And then left after about 4 hours. I went in with housekeeping to see if I could help at all. And as soon as I walk in, I see about 10 used condoms and a large bottle of lube on the bedside table. It's definitely not the worst thing on this thread. But it wasn't a pleasant cleanup for the housekeeping. I'm sure. My GF used to work the hotel welcome desk, checking people in and out of their reserved hotel rooms. Her manager told her that he has found people who committed suicide in various rooms of the hotel many times. It isn't exactly uncommon. Edit for clarity. Yes. The people who commit suicide only do it once. Various rooms of the hotel have had suicides committed inside of them. Not one particular one. Just various random rooms. No particular cursed room. I worked in a hotel around 14 years ago. I was walking towards work one morning when I saw about 5 police cars outside. I was taking over as shift manager, so went straight over to see the manager that should have been leaving. Basically, a guy I had checked in the day before, who seemed completely normal, had gone batshit crazy in his room with an axe, smashed up the TV, walls, the bathroom door. Absolute chaos. He thought there was a tactical police force abseiling down the hotel walls outside his window to take him away. I left the job and never found out if it was a drug-related episode or a psychotic break. Edit. Grammar. My wife used to work at a Marriott Residence Inn, so long and short-term guests as a housekeeper. I asked her what her worst stories were. One was where she did her knock 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 housekeeping 2 or 3 times. Then with no answer let herself into the room. And there was a Chinese man in there jacking it to Latino PRN. The other one I remember her telling me back in the day was a room where when she went in the bathroom and there was shit everywhere except where it was supposed to be. The walls. The floors. The tub. The sink, but not in the toilet. They left an apology not in a giant tip, like a $40 tip. She would often get tips in the forms of food and liquor beer. I had to clean jizz out of a kitchen sink when I cleaned hotel rooms for a summer. That was awesome. Who has sex with a kitchen sink drain? Because of the SI. SI. Full stop. Full stop. Rotating steel of the garbage disposal down there. Worked as a housekeeper a few years ago. Room 506. Buddy decided to commit suicide. Bathroom was painted red. I did not clean it up. There was a furry convention at the hotel I worked at, and every year we had to almost entirely shut down the place after they left. All the front desk staff, bellmen, office people etc. had to help the housekeepers pick up all the condoms and clean the feces, urine, drugs, pizza off the walls. Califer. Not a housekeeper. But mine walked in on my so and I mid FCK and just quietly turned around and closed the door. Daylight savings and we hadn't changed the clocks. So weren't expecting her for an hour. We cleaned our own room that day. Housekeeper walked in on me dancing to Taylor Swift in just a shirt a few weeks back. It was like 9 AM with no warning knock. I'm gonna assume you're a dude. The song was Shake It Off. And being clad in a cute La Donald Duck shirt. No pants. You were spinning up the rotors on the helicopter as the song approached its climax. Worked at a ski hotel once. And it was a very family-oriented wholesome hotel. Sure. You could come to party. But usually they would stay at other hotels or apartments. That is why it was so weird when we found a turd on the floor. And when I say ossifloor, I mean ossicapeated floor. What was especially strange was that it was underneath the beds. So they would have had to remove the beds, take a shitty, and then put the beds back. And there was nothing wrong with the toilet. Bet it was a child. Children hide their poop when they know they are pooping in the wrong place. My friend was in RA at college. The dorm she was over or whatever had suite style rooms. So like a living bathroom and 2 bedrooms which could be locked. One kid had been complaining about the smell from his roommate's room but hadn't seen him in like a week to confront him about it. But they didn't have similar schedules or friend groups so it didn't raise an alarm. Eventually like Thursday he called the RA to check it out. As you can probably guess, the roommate was dead in the other room for like a week. They think he died of a drug overdose like the previous Friday or Saturday. I had a cleaning lady come for the first time ever yesterday. When I got home and I realized I forgot to put away the bondage harness on our bed from the night before. They were nice enough, brave enough to still make the bed. Weird Russian dudes all booked 2 rooms. They put tons of luggage into one. My buddy used to have a temp job cleaning fraternities here in town for Indiana University. A couple of the frats would purposely trash their place knowing they wouldn't have to clean it up. He walked in on his first day to a frat house that had walls smeared with human feces. He sweated through it but didn't last long at that job. My buddy used to have a temp job cleaning fraternities here in town for Indiana University. A couple of the frats would purposely trash their place knowing they wouldn't have to clean it up. He walked in on his day to a frat house that had walls smeared with human feces. He sweated through it but didn't last long at that job. Used to work for Bloomington Hospital Ambulance Service. I can probably guess which frat this was. Good news is they're closed now. Bad news is cause they kept ARPing people. 4-star hotel. Meat pies. Multiple family-sized meat pies had been smooshed against the walls and smeared all over the place. No idea why. Not really related. But one of our regulars was a little person, dwarfism, who would ride a children's tricycle through the halls late at night creepily saying goodnight to people. He thought it was hilarious. A friend of mine's stepmom cleaned this elder couple's house for years. One day she said the husband was napping in his chair and she didn't want to wake him, so she quietly cleaned around him. Wife comes home and it turns out he had died sometime while she was gone running errands. Kind of really messed my buddy's mom up for a while. While it is not housekeeping, my mother works as a criminal detective for the police and my sister is a paramedic. So they do enter other homes from time to time. They had some really fk'd up stories to tell. My sister once ran into a ton of weapons, illegal in Germany, that were in the apartment or also drugs. She tried to give nearby police sort of a hint that they maybe want to take a look into that apartment, but they were too dense to do so. And she couldn't state anything cause of NDA and stuff. My mother once got into an apartment with a 3-week-old corpse that was halfway eaten by worms. They were actually called because tea was dripping into the apartment below. Or also once an apartment which was covered several centimeters high in tea. She said her colleagues wanted to close it, but she went in and the person in there actually still lived. And my sister once ran into a dismembered grandmother. I believe they were called because blood was coming out of the door. Back in college I took on a job one summer of cleaning university apartments after the students left for the semester. It was good money and I got to work with 2 friends. So we usually got each place finished in about 2 hours. One apartment didn't look too bad upon walking in. All the furniture was out, which was nice. A lot of students just leave their crappy college stuff behind rather than lug it home. However, the bathroom was a f***ing disaster. Puke everywhere. And old puke. All over the floor and the bottom of the toilet bowl. Like not in the bowl, but completely crusted onto the back and bottom and the way behind it. Dried piss everywhere and tea around as well. It's like they never made anything into the toilet. It took me 2 hours alone to clean their bathroom. The worst part was when I opened the fridge. There was a dead snake in the bottom drawer. Nothing else in the entire fridge. But the bottom see-through drawer contained a dead black snake that was stiff as a board. Poor baby. I work for a 4-star hotel from a pretty nice company doing housekeeping. Let's start. A year ago during swing shift I was told to make an occupied room. I knocked and a lady came out only wearing a thong. She told me to go in and clean her room. Her kids were all naked and also her husband. I refused service to them and reported them to security and my managers. I have found a lot of sheets covered in blood, feces, used condoms, etc. Rooms full of decomposed food full of maggots sometimes. Diapers everywhere. Thank God we don't clean that. Last would be the times people forget to put their don't disturb sign on their door. I have got inside of rooms with couples having sex or people running naked to get a towel after they shower. In my last job we would always found drugs. A lot of bags with cocaine, weed, pills. We often had to clean crime scenes but never got to see bodies. I'm glad I left that hotel. I walked in on a couple high school age boys getting dressed. Most of the time I've just seen gross things left behind. I've found some disgusting women's underwear, bloody condoms, and tampons. I've found a lot of drug paraphernalia. I found a banana with a condom over it. The customers had just left so I told them they forgot something. I didn't want to touch it. And they said it was for me. My friend is a housekeeper. She usually does houses that are rented out to oil field workers, so it's usually a house full of men. Most of her stories contain dirty condoms, but my favorite was when this guy moved out and kind of tied it up after himself but forgot left a bottle of an L freezing cream on his nightstand. I posted this a few years ago but here it is again. I was working at a low budget motel in a ski town. My shifts consisted of mundane tasks like changing light bulbs, fixing clogs, etc. etc. I got a call from one of the maids to come to a room because the lighting is weird. I asked her to expand on that and she said that the room just looked strange. Okay. I arrived at the room and sure enough, with the lights on and the curtains closed, the room was bathed in weird yellow glow. I look up at the ceiling light expecting that the bulb is underpowered or the fixture is shorting out, and instead find that the glass globe surrounding the bulb is filled right to the brim with piss. Someone actually unscrewed the 3 screws holding it up. Peed in the globe and, I imagine, carefully put it back. The worst part was that the bulb had actually been submerged in piss and had warmed it back up. TLDR, man changes the mood lighting of his accommodation with urine. I work as the night shift manager. Around 5 AM or so I heard a loud scream from one of our buildings. The room in particular is about 100 feet from the office, which is in a separate building. I got up and went to the room where the screaming was coming from. Knocked and the lady hadn't opened the door, so I admitted myself in to make sure everything was okay. Lady and her husband were on the bed, but the husband was dead. He had died in his sleep and she woken up to warmth on her feet. Turns out the guy violently shit the bed when he had a heart attack. 10/10 worst screaming I've ever heard in my life. 9/10 on most disturbing things I've ever witnessed. Yesterday our building maintenance man saw me in an open bathrobe. Whoops. I worked as a hospital housekeeper for a little while. I wasn't there for very long, but the craziest thing I experienced was the psych floor. It was downright creepy watching middle-aged men play with crayons and walk around in circles. Curry. Used condoms. And a little bit of cocaine mushed into the carpet. Enough and open tonic water for a small village. And 2 show boxes filled with cold samosas. Seemed like a good night. Back around 1985 or so, a pal of mine worked third shift at a P-room shop that had the little video booths. We would go see our pal at work since he could play whatever music he liked. Who would complain? I thought it was cool and all till I heard one of his responsibilities, cleaning the video booths. Cleaned for a very religious man. He was a pastor and had never been married. He would send my mother emails with sermons and scripture. One day at his house I found a bottle of lube and a BBWPRN magazine. Kind of tame but kind of shocking considering the type of person he was. 20 years ago I worked as a housekeeper in a large bed and breakfast that was situated in a very conservative, small town community. It was big news that a lesbian couple had spent the night in one of the hot tub rooms. Snickers and disgusted comments were flying amongst employees. Some of my co-workers even got upset with me because I didn't see any harm done. As I was loading a washer, my co-worker runs into the laundry room. She was looking rather green and began puking into a large trash can. When her stomach was empty she told me that I would have to clean that room. What I found were candles all around the room. Rose petals as well. And body prints on the mirror that was situated behind the hot tub. Not really NSFW in my eyes. But apparently it was a big deal to everyone else. Couldn't handle the amount of romance. I have my own cleaning service now. But before that I worked for a company in a nearby city. One client we cleaned for was a pediatrician. Her house was icky. We would split up. One person took the kitchen, another the bath, etc. It was my turn to dust, which included changing her sheets and making her bed, which was just a box spring and mattress on the floor. So I'm putting the sheets on when my foot kicked something. I bent to pick it up but decided I should see what it was first. Thank King God I did. It was a used butt plug. A very used butt plug. Completely covered in tea. Not a little. Big globs. Her nightstand drawer was open about 2 inches and I hadn't noticed right away. Guess what was in there? A whole drawer full of tea covered butt plugs. No joke. I was so f***ing disgusted. And no, I did not pick up the one on the floor. Not a housekeeper, but I think this story is in line enough for people to get it. My first tour in the Navy I was on the USS Enterprise. During our yard period, where they basically do all the accumulated repairs and upgrades, we were tasked by our chief to repaint and resurface the desk, floors, in one of our spaces. We owned the women's berthing on the back of the ship and had planned to spend a week redoing it. The first task is pulling everything out, starting with all the racks, bunk beds. When you have these racks together, a set is typically back to back and it creates a small space between. So the first one we free, this bright pink DLDO comes rolling out. We all have a big laugh and go on about our business. Well, when we reached number 15, we went and got gloves. Then we got a 55-gallon trash can, 132 dildos, vibrators, and butt plugs. What was funny at first just got real gross, real fast. My mum is a housekeeper in a hotel in my town. She got flashed by a man who looked to be 50 plus.